All right, we're ready to roll.
We're ready to roll. Okay, well, hi everyone. I'm Rene Bohr with my cycling buddy, Tommy O'Donnell, and we just finished day 15.
Is that I was off all day. I think I did a live earlier and I said day 13 or something.
It's day 15.
Man.
I have been keeping copious notes, and I know that you're averse to using one of these and keeping notes, but don't worry, I've got your back. I'm taking notes.
Thank you. You're good at
So today you and Cindy rode 55 miles. It was pretty impressive.
It was a good ride. It was nice country roads and wind at our backs.
And we met some interesting people. So we're 750 miles into the ride.
Nice. Yeah.
And it's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it just seems like yesterday that we got started. Yeah. Are you anxious? Anxious to finish? Or would you just like to have this go on forever?
Go on forever. Just I'll ride my bike to Texas. How about that? That'll be the next leg of the race. Yeah.
So just let you just keep the bike and okay, good. Yeah, let me make a note of that too.
Right.
All right. So let's introduce today's special guest.
All right.
That's going to be answering our question of the day.
Joanne Meloro, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Hi, Joanne.
For joining us.
Hi, Rene.
So you have been following some of these podcasts, so you kind of know what's coming. Is that right?
I have an inkling. Yes, I do.
You have an inkling.
I have some questions for you guys first before we get into the interview. Okay. So are you keeping, it's a lot of miles, you're almost halfway, right? Day-wise. I don't know about mileage if you're also equidistant between start and finish, but are you keeping a list of how many tire, like inner tube you go through and like, you know, all of the mechanics, the logistical stuff of what you're buzzing through with this?
Yeah, and it's been really, really simple because I'm going to knock on wood. We have only had one flat amongst four bikes so far.
Yeah.
So 750 miles with only one flat.
Yeah.
And we won't mention the guilty party who had that flat.
Oh yeah.
But his name is what? Sonny?
Yeah, Sonny.
Sonny Shu.
He's I actually think he stabbed his tire on purpose with a knife or something.
No way.
I think he did too. Yeah, it was a very suspicious slice in his tire. And we checked him for pocket knives. We didn't find any.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure Sonny is listening to this and will deny everything, but we know better. I think he was ready to quit.
Yeah.
So any other questions?
All right, so let's bring on the question.
Okay, good. Right. Here we go. So the question of the day comes from
Lucas McShane from North Lawndale College Prep. So the question that Lucas has is, what is the large 5-year goal that you have? And then how do you divide that or break it down into 1-year increments? So
great question.
Think about that one. And then we'll ask
Lucas, this is a really mature question.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Okay. So we're going to let you mull that one over, but before you get to the question today, we're going to ask you some questions.
That's right.
Starting with, we'd sure like to hear a little bit about your background. So Tommy brought me up to speed on some of the things that you've done. Sounds like it's really, really interesting. So why don't you tell the kids and let the rest of our audience know a little bit about yourself. So just a brief history, where you're from, where you grew up, and so on, and what brought us to today. All in 45 minutes or less. I'm kidding.
No problem.
Okay.
Not a problem. Well, one thing I've learned through all my experience in life so far is that not a lot of people have a really linear progression in the way that their lives happen. People go through life and you're really influenced by who you meet and where you are and the other events in your life that influence your decision making and influence kind of like where you go. So I'm no exception to that. I've done a lot of different things in my various history and career of working, but I'm from New Jersey, a town called Cranford, New Jersey. And I went to Rutgers University, the State University of New Jersey. And from there, I've lived not only in various locations in New Jersey, but I've also lived in Syracuse, New York, or Baldwinsville specifically, which is very close to a stop that you'll be making in just a few days.
Yeah.
I lived there for 4 years, and I currently reside about 25 miles north of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. And I also split my time between Bethesda, Maryland, where I'm currently working on a project at the National Institutes of Health,
Mm-hmm.
So I have an apartment in Bethesda and a house in Pennsylvania, and I kind of go back and forth in between. But my current line of work, my day job, I'll say, my day gig, is that I work for an engineering consulting company. We focus in the pharmaceutical and biotechnology sectors, life sciences, and I work in the department that is busy on a day-to-day basis with regulatory compliance for our clients. So I help our clients make sure that their facilities, their equipment, and their processes are operating the way that they're supposed to be, the way that they're reporting to whatever regulatory authority they're trying to match up with. So wherever in the world that is, their drug products are being sold. So that's what I do by day. Here at the National Institutes of Health, it's a really interesting opportunity because, as many of your listeners may know, and you guys surely know, all of the leaps and strides they've been making in battling various diseases with gene therapy and cell therapy. And so here at the NIH, it's all clinical work. It's all first in human stuff. And this is the forefront of personalized medicine. And so they're having to bring their facilities, some of them are aging, an older clinical center that's between 50 and 10 years old, depending on the wing that you're looking at, bringing that up to current good manufacturing standards so that they can legally produce what's now considered drug product, which is basically patient cells modified in some way to be reintroduced to that same patient. But it's super interesting. I feel very connected to the mission here. When we go to work every day, we will go to lunch in the cafeteria in the clinical center, and there will oftentimes be patients sitting at the next table, with their families. So it's very, it really presses on your heart to see it.
And is this
know that what I'm doing makes a difference.
Is this connected to human longevity in any way?
Well, I know that the specific departments that I'm working with right now, which are the Center for Cellular Engineering and National Cancer Institute, are specifically targeting different disease, oncology, obviously. Not specifically with longevity, but there's a lot of different institutes here that comprise the whole big thing, and they work on a whole host of different projects and research.
Very cool.
Super interesting. So that's what I do by day, and I have a side gig which plays right into Lucas's question of the day as my 5-year plan, but I'm a certified life coach as well.
Okay.
And this is kind of where I would like to be on a full-time basis in 5 years.
Okay. So that's one of your personal goals.
So I will coach anyone, but I really like to focus a lot of my coaching, and what I've done for the past 20 years on a volunteer basis is help women, specifically collegiate women. So that's people between the ages of 18 to 23, say 25, maybe even in the graduate situation, graduate school, to figure out what it is that they want to do and help them align their goals with their current life and the activities and actions that they're taking to reach those goals. So I do that. I also coach women who travel frequently for business, road warriors. I'll call them road warrior women. A lot of times they're moms, or perhaps they are young in their career, just getting started, and it's really hard to balance the demands of travel, which have its own unique set of circumstances, with your personal life. And society tells a lot of us, not by gender, like a lot of us, how we should be, and we see a lot of what society is telling us is the perfect vision of ourselves on social media. So having the opportunity to help people, and specifically women who are traveling, align their personal goals with their reality, and not feel guilt, like calm down the guilt that they feel from what society tells them they should be feeling, and maybe it's disjointed or incongruent.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your educational experience at Rutgers. And maybe
go ahead. I'm sorry, Rene.
Well, I was going to say you don't learn everything in college, but it must have given you a pretty good start.
I am not utilizing very much of the book learning that I learned in college, honestly, in my career right now. And I think that you could find a lot of people standing in line behind me saying the same thing. However, what I will say that I learned in college right off the bat was the value of learning how to get along with a lot of different people who have different ideas and different backgrounds than me. So right out of the gate in a dormitory situation with a roommate who you don't know, and that was a very interesting experience for me. I'd always, I'm from a small family. I'd always had my own bedroom, so to have to share close quarters like that was quite a learning experience. And in addition, I joined a sorority my freshman year and lived in the sorority house. So living with, a large number of other women, and having to share bathrooms and, living space and stuff like that was really a very good lesson for me, for sure. But I will also say that along with that, I also learned how I was responsible for my own life, and that it's nobody else's job to, make sure I'm having a good time. It's no one else's job besides my own to make sure that I'm showing up where I have to be, where I say I'm going to be, what time I'm going to be there, studying, not studying, whatever. Rutgers, along with many other state universities, is big. And so you're in big lecture halls with 300, 400 other students. You could easily get lost. No one would know if I was there or not for a lecture. So having to be responsible and learning the hard way sometimes what happens when you're not was a very valuable lesson that I carry forward with me now.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, very good.
What else can I say about education? I mean, I really did like being at a big university. I think there's a lot of opportunities that larger universities afford. However, in retrospect now, of course, hindsight's 50-50, but I think I would have probably been a much different student, maybe even a better student, had I gone to a smaller school where I could have interacted more readily, more easily on a one-on-one basis with my instructors. Just for my personality.
What would you say would be like the most valuable lesson that you've learned, whether it's through college or just life experience or whatever, a lesson that you would, tell the kids of North Lawndale? What would be like the most valuable lesson?
Well, I kind of have this rule of 3 that I live my life by, and I do give this advice to other young people too. And so the first rule that I learned as a young person, probably 19 years old, was you make your own good time. And what I mean by that is if I'm unhappy, there's no one else that's responsible for my happiness besides me. So if I'm not having fun, then I need to change something about my circumstance, my thoughts, and or what I'm doing to sort of change that around. The second thing is that you've got the power. So like as an individual, you have the power to make change. It kind of goes along with, you make your own good time. Like you're the one. Yeah. And then the third part of that is if you don't like something, work to make a change. Don't just whine about it. So people generally don't look upon whiners very favorably, people who just complain a lot. And so this has been really impactful in my adult life as well, because I volunteer a lot of time actually to different organizations that serve young people and young leadership. So if there's something that I'm seeing that I don't like, I definitely will lend my time and lend my talents to make it better. And I would advise and recommend to youngsters, young people also, high schoolers, college people, collegiate women and men, to think about that, carry that forward themselves. If they don't like something, work to make a change. And I mean, I have 3 sons of my own who are in their late 20s and early 30s. And I will say with great hope in my heart and a really good feeling that I think that the current generation, millennials, or whatever you want to call them, whoever's coming after the millennials, I think they really get that. I think that they do work to make a change. I think they're very socially conscious in a very good way. They generally care about how they spend their money and where they spend their money, and making sure that it's in alignment with their values and their goals too. So I applaud that, and that kind of goes along with probably the lesson that I learned as a young person.
That's good.
So here's just a question. What do you like most about being a life coach?
I love helping people. I love helping people realize that the answers to, life's questions that they're pondering and really suffering through are all within themselves. I don't have answers for you, Rene, or for you, Tommy. You have
Right.
your own answers, but sometimes you're so close to it and so myopic, you just don't know. Our brains get in the same thought pattern and we go down the same trail again and again, and it's hard for us to see another way. So being that sort of giving someone that different perspective and helping them see how their brain is thinking maybe, and what that's creating for them in their lives is so rewarding for me.
Yeah.
Because it's helpful, really helpful.
Yeah. Do you think people in general kind of resist the whole notion of having a coach as sort of a sign of weakness or?
Yes, maybe. I think it's a misnomer. My coaching mentor has said that it's very interesting. Her name is Brooke Castillo, and she has said that in the 90s, all the rage was physical fitness, right? So everyone was going to a gym and working out, and that's what a coach was as a trainer, and that was the focus. And she really feels that starting in 2010, but moving forward for the next 20 years or so, she really thinks the future is in mental health and mental fitness. And so that's where this whole idea of life coaching or success coaching or whatever you want to call it, it's just someone to support you and help you figure out for yourself what it is you want in your life, and then how you might proceed to, create the situation around yourself to get that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very good. And having worked with a personal coach myself that wasn't a physical coach,
Right.
It was more for my mental and emotional well-being, it helped me a lot. So if there's anybody out there that's thinking about hiring a personal coach, do it. Don't overthink this. It can be very simple. Yeah, it can be very simple.
Just about every coach I know will offer a free session too. So if you're curious, just reach out. There's a bunch of different resources online where you can find different coaches, and almost everyone will offer a free consult, and you can just get a taste of it just to see if it's for you or not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
So here's a question for you. Who's had the biggest influence on your life? If you reflect back on all your years on the planet, who's had the biggest impact? Maybe it's been more than one person, but
it's definitely been a lot of people, but I think, and I don't think I'm unique in this, I would say my mom, for sure. My mom was someone who had a huge impact on my life. She isn't alive anymore, but she was a mother in the 1960s who owned her own company and went to work every day. And that was very unusual for women at that time. She was the only mother that I can think of all my friends growing up that worked. Certainly the only one that had her own company. She owned a marketing company, and she did it with such grace, and so she really instilled a sense of independence in me, and a really strong work ethic. So, and also a lot of self-confidence, because she believed in me and she told me that all the time. And so I think that's really had a big impact on my life.
Yeah.
Smoke detectors are going off of my house.
Oh no.
Someone else is cooking tonight. That's
why.
Oh no.
You let someone else go. And boiling water? I never knew that boiling water would set off a smoke detector. All right, you have that. I heard it stop. So, so either the smoke detector was ripped out of the ceiling, or we started banning things. All right, this is a great segue, by the way. A great segue into
the question of the day.
It's time to lift the smokescreen on this question of the day.
Absolutely. All right. So the question was from Lucas McShane. So what is the large 5-year goal that you have, and then how do you break that down into 1-year increment?
Yeah. Great question. So I was just writing this all out this past weekend, so it's actually pretty timely. So my big 5-year goal is to transition ultimately by 2023. So it's a little bit shorter range than 5 years, but to transition completely from my current job as a engineering consultant into life coaching full time. And so there's a lot that I don't know about. You know, I'm a relatively new entrepreneur, although I've watched and been influenced by many other entrepreneurs in my life. Thank you, Tom and Mark O'Donnell, the very first young entrepreneurs that I had the opportunity to work with. So that was another.
Whoa, you had to work with both of them?
Oh, I
Both of
know.
them at the
How
same
bad
time.
was that? I know. She survived
Oh, golly.
it. Sorry.
Yeah, it was awesome, actually. But so there's a lot I don't know about entrepreneurship, and a lot I don't know about starting a business and marketing myself, and the technology, frankly, for a person my age can be quite daunting at times, but this is what I do, Lucas. So I write down all of these things that pop in my head and say, I don't know, I can't do it. I just write them. I just download all of that. Each one of those things, we'll call that an objection or some other, you know, something that's blocking me. Each one of those things becomes a to-do for me. And so I'll take each one of those one at a time, and I'll just write out, well, I don't know how to get my own website. So I'm going to put that on my calendar, and I'm going to do some research into figuring out how to, you know, get a website, my own website, how, you know, and so each of those things that's a block for me becomes a to-do. And the best way to do that is to schedule the time in my calendar. If it's on my calendar, I do it, and I will allot a certain amount of time, you know, based on what I have available on my calendar to get that done. And I'll just chip away at one big thing at a time. So for me, the first one was actually certification. Boom, done. I did that. Actually, twice certified at this point, so done. So now really it is lifting my online presence. And so that's really what I'm focusing on next. So I've hired a graphic designer. I have a business coach. We're working on all of that. So that will probably be this year's goal, is to get a social media presence, to get my website. I mean, I have a website now, but it's not beautiful. But, you know, it's all a process.
Yeah.
And then I'll move on to the next big chunk. And so that's kind of how I approach it and break it into manageable pieces, because that's the only way to eat an elephant, is one bite at a time. And so to me, this seems like a pretty big elephant. The good thing about it, and hopefully with most people's goals, is they're super psyched about it. It's something that they really want to do and really want for themselves and are excited for, so they don't mind digging in, even though these blockage points can seem like a big roadblock. Once you just look at it and think about everything I know about websites, just write it all down and try to put the pieces together for myself, and then, you know, talk to some experts.
And do you have a real clear image in your head of what your life is going to look like at the end of 2023?
I sure do. I think about that almost every single day. It's yes.
Yeah. That's good.
So share that with. So let's now at the end of 2023, and we're having a conversation with you, and you're just reflecting back on the last year. I mean, what does your life look like?
So my life is spent three full. My goal is to work 3 days a week, full time at Life Coaching with clients, hands on with clients, and then to spend 2 days a week working on my business, on the business aspect of it and building the business. I am not bound by a 9 to 5, because my clients will be all over the world. So, you know, we'll be scheduling as it makes sense, and I'll be free to travel. And that's the beauty of what this coaching opportunity provides as well, is that I don't need to be in one location. I can use technology to my advantage from wherever I am, just like you guys are.
There you go.
Wherever you are.
Wherever we are.
Yeah. So, you know, I would be really very happy to let you know that I would be welcoming family, grandchildren, and our children to our home on a regular basis, hoping to find a lovely spot at a beach somewhere. Not sure which beach yet, but we're going to get there. And who doesn't want to come visit a beach, right?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Right.
Well, there is Turkey Beach here on the North Shore of Lake Erie. No, it's a real place that we know because we're here.
You said it was lovely.
It is lovely. It is lovely.
It's not an ocean beach, but
it's,
you know,
it's a Great Lakes beach.
I like lakes too. I like lakes and mountains too. So that's not out of the question.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
we want to thank you for joining us today. This has been a real delight. And are we going to meet you in Rochester? Are you coming up to Rochester?
Syracuse, right? Aren't you
Oh,
guys going to be in
Syracuse.
Phoenix?
Yeah, Syracuse. That's
Mhm.
right. I'm sorry. Yes.
Possibly. I have something else that's on my calendar this weekend, but I think that you'll be meeting Mark for sure.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
very
Cool.
good.
Well, if
Yeah.
we meet you, that'll be a bonus.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
Bonus
right.
for me too.
So
All right.
real quick,
Yeah.
what we're doing the whole leadership questions and all that is to raise money for North Lawndale, right? So I will be then posting this interview on Facebook, and there's going to be a link to donate to North Lawndale College Prep in Chicago, right? So that's something that I will be doing as we get enough high-speed internet to do so.
Which has been a challenge.
So,
We're getting ready to send up smoke signals here. I think.
I know,
the way
it's
it's
crazy.
going.
Yeah.
Well, and even if your ride is complete by the time this gets posted and people are watching, they will know that it's not too late to donate.
Oh,
That
sure.
your link will be active all the time, I'm sure, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that please think about how the future, our youth is a future leadership
Yeah,
that
exactly.
will help us
Exactly.
all, right?
Mhm.
So it's a great investment.
All right.
Good. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you later.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
night.
Safe travels.
All right.
All right.
Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot. All right. Bye.
Sure. Bye.